Hey everyone, welcome to Unique Ways with Thomas Gerard, an audio podcast. Got a celebrity designer on today. He is an award-winning artist, graphic designer, author, and public speaker. His art and words have populated walls, buildings, packaging, shoes, clothing, books, magazine covers, and galleries all over the world for brands such as Nike, Apple, Google, MoMA, Netflix, Tiffany Co, Samsung, Yves Saint Laurent, Uniqlo, Target, The New Yorker, and The New York Times. Please join me in welcoming and honoring Timothy Goodman. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Really good. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm a little I'm kind of in a moment where I've been working really hard the last 2 months, and recently I've had some downtime, which makes me get very existential. So
Nice.
uh, you know,
Cool. Are you ready for 20 questions?
yeah, let's do it.
Okay, question one. Tell me a little bit more about yourself. What do you do?
Uh I am you mean what do I do as a profession, as a career?
Yeah, I think so.
Um, I am a tradition, a formally trained graphic designer turned commercial artist, illustrator, writer, author. My grandmother calls me an artist. So I do a lot of different things, and I do commercial art and I do a lot of personal art and work. Um, and ultimately, I think I'm kind of an expressionist, and I'm trying to share my life and my journey and talk about the things that are hard to talk about and connect to humans. We forget that ultimately that's what this is all about. You're making things for humans. We're in the business of consequence, and people are on the other side of our work and our productions and contributions. And yeah,
Great. Just a note for our audience, Timothy and I don't know each other until now, but I've been following his work for a long time. But of course, recently with the KD basketball shoes coming out and the new book, he's kind of on fire right now. So yeah, super happy to have you here.
I
Um,
appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah. Question two, what's a key piece of knowledge that makes you different?
Key piece of knowledge. You mean like something about myself?
Yeah, it could be about you, it could be about your work, it could be about your process.
I think that, I am I think that maybe the thing that makes me different is I'm not afraid to go there with my work, and whether I'm talking about, love and heartbreak in my new book, or talking about the abuse I experienced as a kid through my work, or talking about mental health and taking, medication, or going to therapy, and manhood and breaking down, manhood and our relation to, and toxic masculinity, and uh, even just talking about politics and all, so I want to talk about these things, and I want to get at the core of the human condition and our fears and our privileges and our experiences. And so, I think maybe that's what makes me different in some regards. To be able to juggle being a commercial artist and doing things with brands and also doing work for yourself. And sometimes these things marry together um, in interesting ways that maybe the public hasn't seen before. So
Great.
perhaps that makes me
Yeah.
different.
That's super exciting. Some people do use this as a platform to share issues, and I think it's a great way to frame it. Question three is why this of all things? Why do you do what you do?
I think I said it, I feel lonely in the world a lot, and I want to connect to other lonely people. I want to discuss, I want to, I think sharing your personal story can be at times a sort of activism, and I want to connect to people through that stuff. Um, and that's really what I'm in it for, if I'm truly being honest. And uh, so that for me, that's what it's all about. We forget that in this industry, I think.
Yeah, for sure. For some people struggle with, but the question is, what does your future look like?
What does my future look like? I think my future looks like uh, one that is full of, um, having continuing to have a healthy relationship with my partner, something I didn't see as a kid. And through years of therapy, I've been able to really um, show up for myself, show up for other people, and to be a good friend and a good son and family member and a good partner and to be good to myself. And everything else is second to that in a lot of ways. So that's what my future looks like, just continuing to evolve and uh, look in the mirror and accept love.
That's great. And you've really kind of built this platform where now you have this audience to speak to. So that's really great. Number five is a bit of a curveball. It's let's talk about location. How does the notion of place play into what you do? You can talk about that in an interpretive way or a literal way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a New Yorker. I've lived here for 19 years. It's extremely important to me as an artist. I don't take it lightly. Um, I make a lot of work for New Yorkers about New York. Um, I contribute a lot of pro bono work and murals to organizations here and just kids and communities. I do workshops with kids a lot. Uh, this is a thriving place that is not dead, that is full of um, some of the most amazing people in the world. And I take that very seriously as an artist. And it's what gave me, New York is why I kind of become the artist I've become. And I feel a real loyalty to that. So I take it very literal. And I hope because of the pandemic and more people thought about the relationship to space more, whether they left the city or stayed in the city, because these things are more than places to consume. They're places that are important, and people can't leave them, and they don't have the privilege to leave them. And so, yeah, I just hope that more people think about that.
Great. And for the audience, if you like the New York connection, definitely check out the episode with Debbie Millman. She splits her time with New York and other places, but a really great episode with that one. Question six, if you had to start from the beginning, what advice would you give your former younger self?
To not be so pensive. I think I was very pensive in the beginning, and I came. I used to be in my early 20s. I didn't come from money, and I worked as a house painter before I went to college. Hello?
Yep.
Oh wait, sorry. Something happened. Hold on. There's some music or something playing. Sorry.
No worries.
I don't know where that came from. Can we start that over? I don't know how this works, but
Yeah, just continue.
um that was really weird. I think my girlfriend played our speaker from another. She's not here, but I think she
Oh, that's
maybe.
funny.
Yeah. I was like, sorry, what was the question again? Can you
Yeah,
can
so
you
it's number six. If you had to start from the beginning, what advice would you give your former younger self?
Yeah, just the not. I would give the advice I'd give is not be so pensive. I think, I came from, uh, I didn't grow up a lot of money, and I was going to community college in my late teens, early 20s while I was painting homes, and I really wanted to, I moved here trying to figure out a lot of things, and I had to figure out how to pay for a private art education and take out loans. And I applied to 100 scholarships, and I was always, and I won 10 of them. Um, and I took my art school, design education very seriously. It was like a job because I didn't want to go back to Cleveland and paint homes. I really wanted to make it here in New York, and I think I could have still did that and not. I think I was just very pensive at that time, um, in college, and I probably didn't have as much fun as maybe I should have. I wish I could have found ways to kind of balance some of that experience. And but ultimately, I'm not a big person with regrets, so I think that everything happens the way it should happen, and it's just are you attempting to see yourself during the course of that, and be open to change. That's all that really matters.
Nice, awesome. And number seven, I think, is a fun one because a lot of our audience will know that your work is, all over the place, all over New York City. But the question is, what's a day in your life like?
Well, it depends. I travel a lot for work. I do murals in different cities and things like that. So, um, and also I work on site doing murals. So if I'm not doing that, I'm probably going to my art studio. So I'm a big when I go to my art studio, I really like to get there in the morning. I don't like to hang around my apartment. I like to kind of wake up, take a shower, and go right there. I like getting coffee on the way, or tea on the way. Um, and I like uh, I kind of like that transit to getting in my studio. So then I get there and I generally would be working all day, and that could look a lot of different ways. I could be taking a lot of meetings in one day, whether it's current clients or potential clients, or I could have deadlines happening and I'm trying to finish things up, whether they're, on my iPad or on the computer, um, doing edits and changes for projects, or I could be working on a canvas in my studio, working on my next art show, or just doing maybe a giveaway for social media for Instagram or something. Um, and so, yeah, it could kind of look a lot of different ways. And maybe I have a meeting at some point during that day and I have to run out, but I try to make studio days just for studio, and then other times. But I also love to work at home. If I have meetings or, think emails, I'll kind of sometimes just work from home on days. So I like the flexibility.
Nice. And you talked a bit about this with your schooling, but number eight is lifelong learning is a popular topic. How do you stay up to date?
How do I stay up to date with lifelong learning?
How do you stay up to date with lifelong learning? Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to be curious, I think that's what it's about. I'm a people person. I love meeting people, talking to people. I love meeting people that are very interesting and have a lot to say and that challenge my viewpoints and my experiences, um and so I really feel stimulated by that. And so, and I've always been, and it comes out in my work a lot of ways, but I'm a big fan of popular culture and music and movies and books and whatever is current. I'm always kind of fascinated by, even if I don't love it, all the way or whatever. I'm just fascinated by what the trends are and what's happening, fashion, whatever. So I think, all of those things play into my work in a lot of ways, and um, make me curious because, I don't have any answers. And I think the sooner a person realizes that, the sooner, and I'm just I guess a generally like optimistic person in the sense of, I'm not, I don't feel like, I don't feel jaded by things in a lot of ways, I think, and maybe that has to do with my inner work, and maybe it has to do with therapy, and maybe it has to do with meditation. Um, I don't know. Um, but I feel humility a lot, and I'm thankful for that. So, and it makes me curious about other things.
Great. And we're almost halfway with number nine. What tools do you use? Can you talk about the digital and the analog?
Well, traditionally I use a lot of paint markers. I can use some anywhere from a 1 inch to a 2 to 3 inch paint marker if I'm really trying to get very thick lines. If I'm working on a massive canvas like a basketball court that I did in
Mm,
Brooklyn, or a very big mural or something, or I could use a skinnier paint marker if I'm working on a small canvas and I want to get more density.
mm,
I also I do these murals with big words and phrases that are these big wonky kind of lettering phrases. And for those, I'll use kind of house paint. So we'll kind of paint them in with I'll have assistants help me or whatever, where I'm kind of painting it in with house paint with a semi-gloss or an eggshell kind of finish.
mm.
Digitally, I work on the iPad a lot. So most of the stuff I do, which is whether it's like a packaging for a brand or any sort of thing like that, is done on the iPad now. I used to do it by hand with tracing paper and things, and I would kind of refine it. But now I do it all digitally on the iPad. And then, I do a lot of things, whether I have to turn something into vector because it's getting blown up at a large scale, or the client just requests that because we want to do color, or we have to do color studies. So I might do something on the iPad, bring it into vector, and then change it to vector on Illustrator. But I also will just do things on the iPad, bring them into Photoshop, and then try a lot of different, like I might try color changes, or you know just adjust things or whatever. I do a lot of different. It's a little sloppy sometimes, like I'm all over the place with it, but yeah.
Great. And we're halfway with number 10. And you talked about being in the apartment and being in the studio, but the question is, how do you deal with work-life balance?
Yeah, I mean, I used to not be so good at that many years ago. I used to just only work, and um, that didn't prove to be very successful for me in the long run, because like I think like after kind of 10 years or something of not, like, especially in the beginning of my career, I had a full-time job and I would still be working nights and weekends doing freelance. I was just constantly doing so much that I kind of crumbled at 10 years into it. Like it was just like uh I was burned out, and this was like maybe in 2018 or 19, and I went through a lot of depression because of it. I felt like I worked myself to the bone and didn't know who I was in the face of anything, and didn't really have the tools to deal with my mental health or whatever. So I had to kind of learn and take a step back. And so my work-life balance is much, much better now than it used to be. Also, you just get older and you don't want to work at night. You're tired and you don't you don't really feel inclined to do these things, and you have a life and you have a healthy relationship and you want love. And so it's very good. I'm always a worker. I love to get into my studio. I love to work, and I still work on the weekends and stuff here and there, but I'm not. It's a lot more balanced, and that's important to me. And I hope, I think we're past the hustle culture stage of this industry, thankfully, and people aren't pushing that. When I came up, I graduated like 2007 or eight, and that was still very much a thing. And I worked at a branding agency, and we'd work for like 80 hours a week, and it was just insane. Um, and I think, I mean, I know that still exists, but I think thankfully it's not celebrated as much as it used to be.
Nice. And for the audience, if you're liking this episode, check out the recent episode with Vancouver-based Flora Gordon. She also takes a stand about mental health. Number 11, if you weren't doing what you do now, what would you be doing?
Well, I was a house painter in my late teens or early 20s. I painted houses and hung wallpaper for a home improvement company in Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm from. And so I had this whole career, and then I started taking community college classes at Tri-C in Cleveland. Shout out Tri-C, Cuyahoga Community College. And I wanted more, and I was studying, and I was taking all these art classes and drawing classes and sculpture classes. And so, I kind of had this career early on. I was a house painter. I thought for a long time that's all I was going to do for the rest of my life. So that's why I don't take any of this for granted now. I used to haul buckets of wallpaper up upstairs for 15, 16 hours a day. So I really don't take this for granted now. I feel very privileged and blessed to do the work I'm doing. But other than that, maybe a music producer. I don't know, it's a little random, but I really get into like how music is made and why people make decisions and how songs get made um and, and I've always been really fascinated by that. And I always wondered if what would happen if had I learned to do that, because I always felt like I wanted to do that, and I don't know. So maybe music producer. I'm very inspired by music more than any genre by far. And I think about everything in terms of music too. So
Nice. 12, what would you not like to do with your career?
what would I not like to do with my career?
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, if there, I mean, you were talking about being a house painter, and not liking that. I mean, is there anything that you wouldn't want
Oh
to
no,
do?
I did like it. Don't get me
Okay.
wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I liked it when I did it. I felt a lot of honor in it. You're working with your hands. And it connects the dots to where I'm at now. I do so many murals and I'm on site all the time working with my hands and jumping, going up and down ladders and working on site where there's all these guys, these people working who are, in the union or whatever, these carpenters and whatever they're, because I'll be working like if I'm working at a store, like doing a mural, it's usually before they open. So everything's getting renovated or whatever. And it's like, I still like, all of that. I just didn't necessarily want to do it the rest of my life. I wanted more for me, but I did, respect it and a lot. Um, but what do I not want to do? Um, I just don't want to. I think for all of us, we want to make work that is meaningful, and when I can't do that, I feel a lack. And I feel so and I think the lack is interesting too. You got to be in touch with that. But I want to not make work that doesn't have meaning, that doesn't say something. I don't want to do that. So I'm always trying to. It's not always successful, but it's always something there.
Good stuff. And 13, do you have a favorite word, quote, or sentence?
I have many. I don't know. I can just think of some ones I've heard recently, like I was listening to something where I heard art is the thing people forget they need until they need it. And I just love that so much. I think there's a lot of things like, I was reading Toni Morrison. She said something like, you want to fly, you got to be willing to put the shit down that weighs you down. And I think about that a lot too. How much weight, how much heavy bags we're carrying around for no reason, whether they're past issues or hangups we have or likes or dislikes, whether or not they're even real. How do we let that down and be open for more to penetrate our souls, our desires, our hopes, So
It's great.
also I heard this quote recently. It was like doors, they can shut you in or they can shut you out. And sometimes there's no difference. And I don't know, that resonates a lot with me too. What you think something is turns out to not always be the case. And what sometimes when you're in, you're out, and when you're out, you're in, like it's about perspective a lot of times. It's about where you are in your life. It's about what you're willing to learn or unlearn. So
Nice. Also related to what you said earlier, I grew up working in a paint shop. I was this frail young kid carrying these gigantic cans of paint, four of them at once. It was fun.
Yeah.
Um, do you have a least favorite word, quote, or sentence?
Least favorite. Yeah, I've never really loved this whole like do what you love phrase. Um, I think there's just so many there's so much built into that people can't do what they love. It's not that simple. There's so much privilege built in that statement, of course, and there's just so many exterior factors that are built into that people can't just simply do what they love. They can't just quit their job or quit their family that they're, or whatever the case is, or quit their kids or quit their, you can't, it's not that easy, and sometimes, uh, for whatever reasons of trauma and that, can prohibit one person from simply doing whatever one might think they love. So I don't know. I've always just never really felt right to me that
Good. And if you had to pick one word to describe yourself, what word would you choose?
one word to describe myself,
Hmm.
audacious.
Nice. What keeps you up at night?
Generally something stupid, like like just I forgot to write. I gotta call this person, or I gotta write this email, like something dumb, or like, wait, what happened to that shirt I wore 6 months ago? Like I haven't seen that in 6 months. I love that shirt. Or I haven't seen this shirt, or something stupid like that. Um,
17, what's a dream you're chasing? Oh,
um,
oh, there you are.
I want to just get to a place, and maybe as you get older, you just continue to. But I want to get to a place where I'm more content, with I don't know. I feel like I still like kind of I don't know. On one hand, I constantly want to keep making and trying things and testing things and pushing boundaries creatively and stuff. And but it can burn you out, and I'm still wrestling with um ways to navigate that, to be content and to you know push boundaries or try new things, but also feel good and content. I mean, it's not that I don't feel good or content with where I'm at, of course. I'm not a person who doesn't who I can really like feel the moment at times and be happy and look back and be thankful for works. I'm never a person who really like cringes at past work or just, yeah, I don't know. But I do want to find peace a little bit more internally as I get older. And that's a dream, like I don't know if it's necessarily possible. Um, but I want to find a little more peace inside.
Great. Final stretch number 18, what inspires you?
Uh, New York City inspires me a lot. People who give a shit and aren't afraid to take stands, inspire me a lot. People who give a shit about other people inspire me a lot.
Mm.
Uh, um, People who are, trying to make and do things that help other people, and aren't only for vanity reasons, inspire me a lot. The past inspires me a lot. I'm constantly kind of like delving into the 60s and the 70s in New York City, or this artist or that artist's biography. And I don't know, my girlfriend says I look in the past too much, but sometimes and that's why I make a lot of the works, like I'd like to, I just wrote my new graphic memoir about this time in my life in Paris. And um, sometimes I'm trying to figure out something about trying to figure out the past allows me to be more present. It's a weird thing. or figure out or helps me navigate the future more or something. But that inspires me a lot. Um,
Nice. And
Fiona Apple inspires me a lot.
is it, sorry, I missed that. What was that?
I said Fiona Apple,
Oh,
dog.
yeah.
She inspires
Right.
me a lot.
Okay. 19, any advice you'd like to share?
Um, I would just say, I always say like for younger folks and like especially if they're a designer, like graphic design, like approach design as a practice, not as a profession, as much as you can.
Hmm.
Um, I think that uh, why can doctors and lawyers be practicing law or practicing medicine or but where we are like working, like why aren't we practicing design or practicing art? Like that's how I really think about it. And I think it gives maybe a person more license to try things and to experiment and to use the tools that we learned as designers or art directors to tell stories in different ways that maybe the public hasn't seen before. And not be so bogged down by the quote unquote profession of it all. Um, but yeah, that's all I would say.
Great. And 20 is good for our listeners to get some focus because you've got a lot of stuff out there. The question is, how can our listeners keep tabs on you? What should we look at? What should we follow?
I'm most active on Instagram at Timothy Goodman. I always share a lot of, all my projects or, you know, things that I'm feeling or going through or life or politics or whatever it is, cultural, pop culture stuff, whatever. I'm just kind of always sharing. I'm also on TikTok by Timothy Goodman, although I'm very sporadic and not on it all the time. Same with Twitter. I think it's just at Timothy O Goodman, but I go weeks where I don't even go on my Twitter anymore because I don't know about you, but Twitter is a lot for me. So I'm not really active. My website is tgoodman.com. Sometimes I get tried to update new projects, but you can follow me most on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. You're absolutely on fire right now, and it's super exciting to have you on for that reason. But you've proved that this is not a one-time thing, and that you're going to do this again and again. So I think we're all excited about what comes next. Thank you so much for being on the show.
You're very kind. You're very kind. I appreciate that. And yeah, keep doing it.
Thanks so much.